Today I am going to show you all another kind of weird, obscure part of my collection. These are Korean Nintendo GameCube games, and they probably don't look familiar to you because they were released in Korea, not in the US. But there's a few things about them that are like really weird and kind of strange and would make you wonder why Nintendo would ever do something like this. So I'm going to go over them and go over the differences, and you guys will probably be just as confused as everyone else. So these don't come up very often for sale on places like eBay, probably mostly because there's not a lot of Korean sellers on eBay and not a lot of people import these. But also some other factors are probably that Nintendo used to not really release that many games in South Korea. For example, the Nintendo 64 in Korea literally only had 4 games released. Could you imagine spending all of that money for Nintendo's new console to play 4 games? I'm sure that number is a little inaccurate because they probably shipped like Japanese games or just random Asian games to South Korea to sell there. But as far as actual Korean N64 games, there were literally only 4. There were a lot more GameCube games than 4. There were probably about 20. I don't know exactly, but I'll put a list up on the screen so you guys can check it out. Yeah, these things tend to go for either a lot of money for the more popular games or like $20 for some other random games. These ones are for sale right now. I've seen for about $100, which is kind of insane. But if you consider the prices of what the USA versions of these games cost, it's not that much because the game market is such a scam right now. But that's kind of besides the point. Let's take a look at some of the actual games. So these are actually the same box styles as Japanese GameCube games, where they have the slip cover that comes off and an actual case inside with the disc and manual. So on the cover itself, you'll notice the game title is in English. It has the official Nintendo seal. There is no Korean title, which is really funny because I'm assuming most people in South Korea probably don't speak English, so they won't know the title of the game not even until they flip it on this side, because it reads the game in English again. And then on this side, it does actually say the name in Korean. And the name is still Super Mario Sunshine. It's funny how they put the English title here and then put Nintendo GameCube in Korean. There's some information about the game at the bottom, just like Japanese GameCube games, like how much space it takes up on your memory card, the genre, how many players, and the game ID. The back has actual Korean text. As you can see there, it says for Korea only, because that is true. These are actually mostly, I think, sometimes they choose the American box arts to put on these, and sometimes they choose the Japanese box art. But as far as I can tell, they all use the American titles. For example, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. This game was called Mario Golf Family Tour in Japan, but so they chose the American title. But on the side, it just says Mario Golf with no title. And same with the Korean title. This also just says Mario Golf. So yeah, these are actually really cool looking. I actually really love the slip covers, even though they're kind of annoying sometimes. Here's Korean Mario Party 4 with the American box art. I'm not sure if the Japanese one was different actually. And you can see that these keep falling out. The slip covers really aren't that great. But that's also besides the point. The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. This one does use the Japanese box art. And then I have Mario Kart Double Dash without the case. And you might immediately notice something, that the title of the game on the disc is blue or green, I don't know, color blindness. And I believe that is because of this. I think this is some sort of age rating. And since GameCube discs on the print were limited to only one color you could put on the disc, and then just multiple shades of that color, they just decided to make the game title also that color. Looks almost identical to the American disc besides the color change. We have the round seal quality because that's what's used in Korea. It says for Korea only, and it says core. So here is the American Mario Kart Double Dash disc. As you can see, extremely similar. except the color change and the different seals of quality. The Nintendo GameCube logo is bigger. I think that's also how it is on European discs. They also have the exact same subtitle text, which on the Japanese version actually looked a little bit different. So it is the American version that they're going off of. And I will also show you some of these other discs because they all kind of follow the same format and they actually do look pretty sick in my opinion. So here's Super Mario Sunshine. This one's actually complete. And I just think this disc looks awesome. I also like how, because they were only limited to that one color, they also removed some of the details. Like on the American Sunshine disc, they added clouds and a blue sky and some birds, which was really awesome. But they decided not to do that on the Korean disc. For some reason, they added the Nintendo logo there. I'm not sure why. And once again, we have this age rating, which is the same color as the logo. Here's the Mario Golf disc, which does use the actual same golf ball design that they put on the American disc, except all of it is black instead of this green color that's on the American disc. Mario Party 4 is the same story. They removed a lot of the detail. All of the characters in the background are just not there. It is simply just the game logo, which I think looks cool. Not as cool as this, though. And then finally, the biggest difference is the Wind Waker, because the American disc is entirely gold. I don't have that to show you because that game is really expensive and I don't want to buy it. Instead of having a gold disc, it's just the same silver disc with a black logo, since, once again, limited to one color. I do really like the consistency on the cases, though. They all look really nice together. They kind of remind me of Xbox 360 cases. They have the game title and then the GameCube text there. And then the other side is mostly just white. And then they have these graphics that represent the game, which is pretty cool. Wind Waker has a blue Nintendo logo for some reason. Maybe just a leftover from the Japanese version, which is kind of funny. But that's not all there is to the story, because you would think that these games are just language changes, but I can assure you they are much more than just simple language changes. So I'm going to show you the Korean GameCube next, and it might not exactly be what you're expecting. So here it is. This is the Korean GameCube. If you were expecting some weird version of the GameCube that looked like different or something, no. It's just a GameCube. The only thing special about it is that on the bottom it has the region code for core and some Korean text. And that is about as special as it gets. Other than that, this just looks like a normal purple GameCube. If you looked at this, you would be like, yeah, that's a GameCube. Things start to not make sense once we actually turn it on. Yep. It's literally a Japanese GameCube. The internals of this thing are entirely the same as a Japanese GameCube. It is just a Japanese GameCube on a Japanese menu. And my clock battery died, so we're going to ignore that. But, yeah, it's all in Japanese. And if we recall, Korean people don't speak Japanese. They speak Korean. Nintendo didn't even bother to make a different BIOS for Korea. They just used the Japanese one. So, if we put in a Japanese game, that means it'll work. And let me show you this last Korean game I have. This is Korean Mario Party 7. Yep, it is Japanese. They actually released this in South Korea. All they did was import the Japanese version with a Korean box, and they just shipped it to Korea. So if we put in this Japanese disc, it is the same as the Japanese version, it will actually read it because it's just a Japanese GameCube. So that means that Korean GameCube games, if you look closer, actually have the region code JPN for Japan. And as most of us probably know, the GameCube is region locked, as with most Nintendo home consoles. So as you can see, Mario Party 7 is loading up. So if we eject that and put in are Korean Super Mario Sunshine, which says core on it, but has a region code for Japan, because that's the only way it would work on the GameCube, is if it was Japanese. Because the region code on the disc has to match the region code of the console. And since it's a Japanese console, the Korean GameCube games are region coded for Japan. But there's one more funny thing going on here. Super Mario Sunshine 2002 Nintendo. All of this text is in English. There is no Korean text. And if we start the game, yeah, the actual game is 1-to-1 identical to the North American version. There are no differences. There's no Korean text, everything is in English, and in fact, if you have an American save from the USA version of Mario Sunshine on your memory card, and you use it on a Korean disc, it will still read your save just like normal, despite the memory cards being region coded differently. So Nintendo did not actually translate anything. They basically just released the American versions of the GameCube games in Korea, with Korean box art. The manuals are in Korean at least, but the actual games are completely in English. And if I take out the disc, you'll see that here it shows you the game ID. And for Mario Sunshine, it's GMSE. So the G is for GameCube, and then the two characters in the middle are whatever Nintendo put there to represent the game. So I'm guessing MS is Mario Sunshine. And then the letter after is the region. E is for USA, P is for PAL, and J is for Japan. Notice how this one's E. It is just the American version. But what about the Wii? Conveniently right next to the Korean GameCube, I have a Korean Wii. The Korean Wii actually has its own region code. The games are region coded for NTSC-K for Korea. Nintendo stepped it up with the Korean Wii, actually giving it a Korean menu with Korean text. However, you'll notice that on the disc channel, despite this being a GameCube compatible Wii, there's no GameCube disc. The Korean Wii does not read Korean GameCube games. So if I take a Korean copy of Super Paper Mario, which is an amazing game by the way, I don't care what any of you say, and I put it in this Wii, it reads it. You know, as a Wii is supposed to do. However, unlike the Korean GameCube, if I put in a Japanese disc, it actually will not read it. This Wii, the Korean Wii, will only read Korean Wii games. Unlike the GameCube, which also reads Japanese games. And that is because the Korean Wii is region coded for NTSC-K. If you take a look at the disc, this disc is region coded for Japan. While this Super Paper Mario disc actually has a region code of core. So I'm not sure if this is confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that the reason the Korean Wii doesn't accept Korean GameCube discs is because Korean GameCube discs are region coded for NTSC-J. And so even if the disk drive was capable of reading the disc, it would not allow you to play it, since it would not be the right region code. This is just a really bizarre thing that I think is really funny, and is kind of just a huge oversight if you think about it. Because this Wii is a GameCube compatible Wii. The Korean Wii came out in 2008, when all Wiis were GameCube compatible. The later models that didn't have GameCube compatibility were not in existence yet. Also, Korean GameCube games will work on Japanese Wiis because the region code matches them. Thank you guys a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed. You should let me know in the comments if I should make more videos like this one, where I go over weird stuff in my collection, because I definitely have some things to show.